then.
Already?
Yeah. This is episode 13.
Yeah.
This is my favourite number.
Yes.
So Scout is going to read it.
I thought 281 was your favourite number.
No, that's my best number.
Is it?
Yeah.
I know it is.
13 is my favourite number because it's unlucky for some, lucky for others. Anyway.
Has it ever been lucky for you?
Yeah.
How?
Isn't our anniversary on the 13th?
Oh, I did too.
You're a shit.
You're the one who has to ask me all the time.
No, I don't. I know it's the 13th.
Of course 13's your favourite number. You've got a black cat.
I know. He's my
Anyway.
favourite.
No, you don't have favourites.
Episode
Arsehole.
13, asshole, of Dark and Creepy
Things. I have to think about it every single time.
Things. Alright, creepers. So I'm going with being episode 13, my favourite number. I'm going to go with my favourite creepy topic.
I know exactly what it is.
Which actually got me like hooked into dark and creepy kind of things and stuff when I was a lonely primary school child. For those in other countries, elementary school, so it would have been about 7 years old, and I found this book in my tiny Catholic school library, and it had spontaneous human combustion in there, and I was like, oh my god, what is this?
Yeah.
Totally gonna read it, and I did, and I read it like every time I had to go to the library. I picked the same book and read about it. That and the allegedly haunted ghost ship, the Queen Mary.
Oh, the Queen Mary.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I used to go to the library and we had to, do library time, I used to always go and read first aid books. Don't ask me why, but I loved first aid books.
One of encyclopedias and stuff about weird things, weird phenomena. Okay, spontaneous human combustion, or SHC, as I'll be referring to it, is a term encompassing. I can see you rolling your eyes. Is a term encompassing reported cases of the combustion of a living or very recently deceased human body without an apparent external source of ignition. In addition to reported cases, examples of the phenomenon appear in literature, and both types have been observed to share common characteristics regarding circumstances and remains of the victim. There's an awesome picture on the Wikipedia article.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Oh, it's just legs.
It's just legs and ash.
Oh, it's a reconstruction. That's not impressive.
That's
a
I
reconstruction.
feel like it. Shush. Alright. Don't ruin my fun.
That's what I live to do.
Forever.
Yep.
Forensic investigations have attempted to analyse reported instances of SHC and have resulted in hypotheses regarding potential causes and mechanisms, including victim behaviour and habits, alcohol consumption, and proximity to potential sources of ignition, as well as the behaviour of fires that consume melted fats. Yeah, I kind of feel like the fattier the person, more likely you're going to combust, so I'm going to combust.
Yeah, oil.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing.
No, but it's true though. Oils have
more
more
likely
energy in them.
Yeah, so I'm more likely to
molecules, so-
combust.
Yeah.
Natural explanations, as well as unverified natural phenomena, have been proposed to explain reports of SHC. Current
What now?
scientific consensus is that most, and perhaps all, cases of SHC involve overlooked external sources of ignition.
I would agree with that.
Spontaneous human combustion, or SHC, refers to the death from a fire originating without an apparent external source of ignition. The fire is believed to start within the body of the victim. This idea and the term spontaneous human combustion were both first proposed in 1746 by Paul Rowley in an article published in the Philosophical Transactions. There's a link to that. Writing in the British Medical Journal, so he was in a medical journal, in 1938, coroner Gavin Thurston describes the phenomenon as having attracted the attention not only of the medical profession but of the laity.
So, according to Wikipedia, the laity is the lay person.
Oh,
So, people who are not medical
yeah,
professionals.
cool, alright. That makes sense. So it attracted the attention of not only the medical profession but of the lay person.
The lay person.
Right, the laity. As early as 1934. More than 100 years prior to Thurston's article. In his 1995 book, ablaze, exclamation mark, Larry E. Arnold wrote that there had been about 200 cited reports of spontaneous human combustion worldwide over a period of around 300 years. So this little paragraph's about characteristics, because I have heard that to be classified as an SHC case, it does have to follow certain characteristics. An article by L.A. Parry cited an 1823 published book, Medical Jurisprudence, which stated that commonalities among recorded cases of spontaneous human combustion included the following characteristics. The recorded cases have these things in common. 1. The victims are chronic alcoholics. Bye, Mum. 2. They are usually elderly females. Bye, Mum. And Grandma.
Johnny.
No, wrong one.
Doesn't matter. Elderly female.
Number 3, the body has not burned spontaneously, but some lighted substance has come into contact with it. Number 4, the hands and feet usually fall off.
Look at the characteristic. Like if their hands and feet don't fall off, it's not spontaneous.
Yeah, because apparently the fire's generally supposed to start in the center, like the core of your body kind of thing, and then usually the feet and hands, like the extremities, remain.
Yeah, because it doesn't go all the way out.
Yeah, I know from my lots of reading about SHC.
Yeah, go on.
Number 5. The fire has caused very little damage to combustible things in contact with the body. Hence, there are like pictures and stuff that of like beds or chairs, couches and stuff that might have some char marks on them, but aren't on fire, did not burn down. Number 6, the combustion of the body has left a residue of greasy and fetid, is it fetid? Ashes. Very offensive in odour.
Fetid just means oily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so alcoholism is a common theme in early SHC literary references, in part because some Victorian-era physicians and writers believed spontaneous human combustion was the result of alcoholism. Now, don't get drunk because you might combust.
Well, on the word fetid, I lie. It doesn't mean greasy. It means smelling extremely unpleasant. As in, like,
fetid.
Like putrid or foul.
Fetid, putrid, yeah. Okay, cool. All right. There you go. Forensic investigation. An extensive 2-year research project involving 30 historical cases of alleged SHC was conducted in 1984 by science investigator Joel Nichol and forensic analyst John F. Fisher. Their lengthy 2-part report was published in the Journal of the International Association of Arson Investigators, as well as part of a book. Nichol has written frequently on the subject, appeared on television documentaries, conducted additional research, and lectured at the New York State Academy of Fire Science.
The Academy of Fire Science?
At Montauk Falls, I'm probably saying that wrong, New York, as a guest instructor. Nichol and Fisher's investigation, which looked at cases in the 18th, 19th and 20th centuries, showed that the burned bodies were in close proximity to plausible sources for the ignition: candles, lamps, fireplaces, and so on. Such sources were often omitted from published accounts of these incidents, presumably to deepen the aura of mystery surrounding an apparently spontaneous, in quotation marks, death. The investigations also found that there was a correlation between alleged SHC deaths and the victim's intoxication or other forms of incapacitation, which could conceivably have caused them to be careless and unable to respond properly to an accident. Where the destruction of the body was not particularly extensive, a primary source of combustible fuel could plausibly have been the victim's clothing or a covering such as a blanket or comforter. Yeah. However, where the destruction was extensive, additional fuel sources were involved, such as chair stuffing, floor coverings, the flooring itself, and the like. The investigators described how such materials helped to retain melted fat, which caused more of the body to be burned and destroyed, yielding still more liquefied fat in a cyclic process known as the wick effect or the candle effect. Yeah, I've read about the wick effect, and there's a link there to go on and lose yourself in a loop reading about the wick effect. According to Nicol and Fisher's investigation, nearby objects often remained undamaged because fire tends to burn upward, but burns laterally with some difficulty. The fires in question are relatively small, achieving considerable destruction by the wick effect, and relatively nearby objects may not be close enough to catch fire themselves, much as one can closely approach a modest campfire without burning. As with other mysteries, Nicol and Fisher cautioned against single simplistic explanation for all unusual burning deaths, quotation marks, but rather urged investigating, quotation marks, on an individual basis. Neurologist Stephen Novella has said that skepticism about spontaneous human combustion is now bleeding over into becoming popular skepticism about spontaneous combustion. A 2002 study by Angie M. Christensen of the University of Tennessee cremated both healthy and osteoporotic samples of human bone and compared the resulting colour changes and fragmentation. The study found that osteoporotic bone samples consistently displayed more discoloration and a greater degree of fragmentation than healthy ones. The same study found that when human tissue is burned, the resulting flame produces a small amount of heat, indicating that fire is unlikely to spread from burning tissue.
It's just saying
It's
how...
disproving my
Well,
belief.
it is. Well, because I don't believe it either. I think it's kind of silly.
It's not silly.
It is.
Some hypotheses attempt to explain how SHC might occur without an external flame source, while other hypotheses suggest that incidents that might appear as spontaneous combustion did in fact have an external source of ignition, and that the likelihood of spontaneous human combustion without an external ignition source is quite low. All you skeptics. Benjamin Radford, science writer and deputy editor of the science magazine Skeptical Inquirer, cast doubt on the plausibility of spontaneous human combustion. Quote, if SHC is a real phenomenon and not the result of an elderly or infirm person being too close to a flame source, why doesn't it happen more often? There are 5 billion, the world's population reached 5 billion in 1987, people in the world, and yet, what's it now, 7 billion?
7.6 or something.
People in the world, and yet we don't see reports of people bursting into flame while walking down the street, attending football games, or sipping a coffee at a local Starbucks.
That's very true.
Quote, maybe we do.
We don't!
There are fires that happen, and it's like,
You
well,
don't
how
see
did that
someone walk
place...
down the street and suddenly they burst into flame.
Well,
And if that happened, it'd be all over the news. It
would it
doesn't...
though? You know, we...
Hang on, now you're turning into the skeptic.
No, would it? No. Like,
Yes, it would be all over the news.
not if people want to not tell us.
Okay, we live in the world of social media. If someone's walking down the street buying their Starbucks and burst into flames, someone's going to take a video and someone's going to put it on social media. Nothing gets...
And it gets taken by the men in black. Frank's rolling.
I was going to say, you can't see what I'm doing right now. Just,
you know the men in black are real and they scare
I
you.
know that they're real, but yes, they do fucking terrify me.
Oh
However,
my god, I need to do an article on the men in black.
I do think someone would notice and it would get out if someone
Unless
burst
they
into
got
flame.
stopped.
Well, I can't scout. Not everything is controlled.
Paranormal researcher Brian Dunning states that SHC stories, quote, are simply the rare cases where a natural death in isolation has been followed by a slow combustion from some nearby source of ignition, end quote. He further suggested that reports of people suddenly aflame should be called, quote, unsolved deaths by fire, end quote.
I like that better. Unsolved death by fire.
I like spontaneous human
No,
combustion.
unsolved death by fire sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
But like the name
Unsolved, how did they die? Unsolved death by fire. Sounds like a cool band name, maybe.
Yeah,
band.
no, yeah, I
Unsolved
agree
Death
with
by
that.
Fire.
Unsolved death by fire.
Yeah. Copyright. That's our band name.
It's our band name.
Stating that an unknown cause did not necessarily imply that the fire lacked an external ignition source. Natural explanations. Almost all cases of SHC involve persons with low mobility due to advanced age or obesity, along with poor health. Yeah, I'm so gonna die.
You're an alcoholic though.
Yeah, true. Not yet.
Don't say that.
Victims show a high likelihood of having died in their sleep or of being unable to move once they had caught fire. I shouldn't laugh.
Could imagine being on fire and being like, well, This is it.
Well, yeah, especially if you can't move. Cigarettes are often seen as the source of fire, as the improper disposal of smoking materials causes 1 in every 4 fire deaths in the United States. 1 in every 4 fire deaths.
Motherfuckers, just don't do it.
You're gonna die of something in that case.
Hang on, wait, no.
No, as in, if you smoke, you're either gonna die from cancer or catching on fire.
No, don't do it.
Just don't. Natural causes such as heart attacks, another reason to not smoke, may lead to the victim dying, subsequently dropping the cigarette, which after a period of smouldering can ignite the victim's clothes. The wick effect, which we mentioned before, hypothesis suggests that a small external flame source, such as a burning cigarette, chars the clothing of the victim at a location, splitting the skin and releasing subcutaneous fat, which is in turn absorbed into the burned clothing, acting as a wick. Yeah, it's plausible. This combustion can continue for as long as the fuel is available. Wow, yeah, so if you're really fatty, you can burn for a long time. Forever. This hypothesis has been successfully tested with animal tissue, pig, sad face, and is consistent with evidence recovered from cases of human combustion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The human body typically has enough stored energy in fat and other chemical stores to fully combust the body. Wow. Even lean people have several pounds of fat in their tissues.
Yes.
This fat, once heated by the burning clothing, wicked into the clothing much as candle wax, which typically was originally made of animal fat.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It was, yes.
Wicked into a...
So much how candle wax, which is usually made from animal fat, goes into the wick of the candle itself.
Yep, okay. To provide the fuel needed to keep the wick burning. The protein in the body also burns, but provides less energy than fat, with the water in the body being the main impediment to combustion. However, slow combustion, lasting hours, gives the water time to evaporate slowly. Oh, interesting. Interesting and gross. In an enclosed area, such as a house, this moisture will recondense nearby, possibly on windows. Feet don't typically burn because they often have the least fat. I don't know, I've seen some pretty fat feet.
No, but that's mostly fluid, not actually fat.
True. Hands also have little fat. Well, they're just little. But may... Stop rolling your eyes at me. But may burn if resting on the abdomen, which provides all of the necessary fat or combustion. Yeah, when you sit there.
Yeah.
Hands on your tummy.
belly. Yeah.
John Abrahamson, oh my god, that's a big name, suggested that ball lightning could account for spontaneous human combustion.
Ball lightning, as in
ball lightning.
Yeah, I know what ball lightning is, but why would that account for spontaneous human combustion?
This is circumstantial only.
Yes.
But the charring of human limbs, seen in a number of ball lightning cases, are very suggestive that this mechanism may also have occurred where people have had limbs combusted, says Abrahamson.
That's bullshit.
Scalding can cause burn-like injuries.
Yes.
Sometimes leading to death, without setting fire to clothing. Although not applicable in cases where the body is charred and burnt, this has been suggested as a cause in at least one claimed SHC-like event. Brian J. Ford has suggested that ketosis, possibly caused by alcoholism or low-carb dieting, each carbs, produces acetone, which is highly flammable and could therefore lead to apparently spontaneous combustion. Wow, I didn't know that low-carb dieting.
Yeah, so ketosis, like low-carb diet means high fat. So if you're having a really fatty diet, but you're not actually getting a lot of starch or a lot of sugar, you get this thing called ketosis. So people with diabetes have to watch out for ketosis, where you have ketones in your blood. It can be dangerous. But yeah, if you've got really bad diabetes, you can actually smell it on someone. Their breath smells like nail polish.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Yeah, if their breath smells like nail polish, they have really bad diabetes.
Okay. SHC can be confused with self-immolation as a form of suicide. In the West, self-immolation accounts for 1% of suicides, while Radford claims in developing countries the figure can be as high as 40%. Do you know what self-immolation is?
I do know what.
What? I don't.
It's when you set yourself on fire.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it's when you set yourself on fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
It happens
be
a
higher
lot
in developing countries.
Oh, it's higher in Eastern countries or in Asian countries too, because it's also reminiscent of things like cremation and stuff. Because you've got to remember, in those cultures, a lot of cultures don't bury their dead; they cremate their dead. So, and you wouldn't have access to things like guns.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to do it that way.
All right. Okay. Sometimes there are reasonable explanations for the deaths, but proponents ignore official autopsies and contradictory evidence in favour of anecdotal accounts and personal testimonies. Okay, so pseudoscientific and fictional theories. Larry E. Arnold, in his 1995 book Ablaze, Ablaze! I'm not...
Apostrophe?
Exclamation marks me a lot.
Ablaze! Apostrophe.
Shut up. Apostrophe, shut up. Proposed a scientific new subatomic particle, which he called pyrotron.
My God, that's ridiculous.
Like a subatomic name. Pyrotron. Arnold also wrote that the flammability of a human body could be increased by certain circumstances, like increased alcohol in the blood.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that. He further proposed that extreme stress, could be the trigger that starts many combustions. I'm so dead. This process may use no external oxygen to spread throughout the body, since it may not be an oxidation reduction. No reaction mechanism has been proposed. Researcher Joel Nichol, again, has criticised Arnold's hypotheses as based on selective evidence and argument from ignorance. Harsh words, Nichol.
No, it's true though. You just sound a bit ignorant. Like, what the fuck is a pyrotron?
A blaze! Exclamation mark. Pyrotron.
Just because in fact, if your scientific article or book or whatever has an exclamation mark in it, I'm not going to believe you.
In his 1976 book, Fire from Heaven.
Oh my good Lord Jesus. Oh, sweet baby Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus. Jesus. UK writer Michael Harrison suggests that SHC is connected to poltergeist activity because he argues, quote, the force which activates the poltergeist originates in and is supplied by a human being, end quote. Within the concluding summary, Harrison writes, quote, SHC, fatal or non-fatal, belongs to the extensive range of poltergeist phenomena, end quote.
Okay, so when in doubt, you can't explain it. Blame ghosts or aliens.
Poltergeist, yeah.
Well, poltergeists are a kind of ghost.
They're an angry ghost.
Oh, whatever. They're still a ghost.
They're very upset.
When in doubt, blame ghosts or aliens.
What nice ghosts.
Poltergeists are ghosts.
But they're the mean kind that you want to blame stuff on.
Yeah. No, they're the tricky kind, I thought. I thought they were the tricky kind.
No, poltergeists are the
angry ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want a poltergeist. Of all the ghosts to have in your house, you do not want a poltergeist.
Okay.
Trust me. Alright. Notable examples. On July 2nd, 1951, Mary Reeser, a 67-year-old woman, was found burned to death in her house after her landlady realised that the house's doorknob was unusually warm. I think I've seen a picture of that. The landlady notified the police, and upon entering the home, they found Reeser's remains completely burned into ash, with only one leg remaining.
I think I've heard about this case.
The chair she was sitting in was also destroyed. During the investigation, detectives found that Reese's temperature was around 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 1,930 degrees Celsius, which puzzled the investigators, as almost everything else in the room in which Reeser was found remained intact.
Yeah, that's very high temperature.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound... Hang on. So, Reese's temperature, does that mean that the
body...
there wasn't a body. There was only ash left behind.
Yeah, how are they supposed to get her temperature?
That's what I don't understand.
Okay. Reeser took sleeping pills and was also a smoker. A common theory was that she was smoking a cigarette after taking sleeping pills and then fell asleep while still holding the burning cigarette, which could have ignited her gown, ultimately leading to her death. Investigators also found that the fire had burned a socket, which stopped a clock at 2:26 a.m., suggesting that Reeser had died at around that time.
That's a bit creepy, though. Like, the fire that kills you stops the clock, so people know exactly when you died.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Henry Thomas, a 73-year-old man, was found burned to death in the living room of his council house. His entire body was incinerated, leaving only his skull and a portion of each leg below the knee. The feet and legs were still clothed in socks and trousers. See, how did the trousers not catch fire? Half of the chair in which he had been sitting was also destroyed. Police forensic officers decided that the incineration of Thomas was due to the wick effect. His death was ruled death by burning.
Well, yeah, that's how that works.
As he had plainly inhaled the contents of his own combustion. Wow.
No, but I can understand the wick effect. Like you're burning, your fat comes to the surface, it drips into your clothes and it goes down your clothes like a wick, and so the fire follows the wick, and then when you run out of fat to burn, it stops.
Yeah.
That's why the clothes would still be there. Water. That's why the clothes would still be there, because like the oil would only go so far until it runs out or it gets burnt out.
Yeah, but clothes are generally pretty combustible though.
No, but if it's by the wick effect, it's not like a big blaze of glory, it's like a slow smouldering like a candle.
Yeah. In December 2010, wasn't it, 8 years ago, the death of Michael Faraday in County Galway, Ireland, was recorded as spontaneous combustion by the coroner. The doctor, Ciaran McLaughlin, made this statement at the inquiry into the death. Quote, "This fire was thoroughly investigated and I'm left with the conclusion that this fits into the category of spontaneous human combustion, for which there is no adequate explanation." Well, the most recent reported case of apparent SHC occurred in the early afternoon of 17th of September 2017, was just last year, in Tottenham, North London, when a 70-year-old pensioner, John Nolan, from County Mayo in Ireland, appeared to spontaneously burst into flames while walking in the street. See?
It happens, but it's reported.
It still happened.
Go on.
Some passers-by tried to help him at the scene, and he was airlifted to hospital where he died the next day, having suffered severe third-degree burns on 65% of his body. At the time, investigators were unable to establish a reason for this incident, and his death was treated as unexplained. An inquest was opened at North London Coroner's Court in March 2018 to further examine the circumstances of his death. The coroner concluded that Mr. Nolan accidentally set fire to himself while lighting a cigarette, and the cause of death was given as accidental ignition of clothing.
You've got to remember, these court cases where they investigate shit go on for ages. Like, they wouldn't come to that conclusion if they didn't already ask that question.
You never know. Alright, so getting towards the end of the article, the cultural references. In the 1978 novel Wayland by Charles Brockden Brown, the father of the narrator is found largely burned by what appears to be spontaneous combustion and dies soon after. Dead Souls, 1842, a novel by Nikolai Gogol, mentions a craftsman who dies in a flame. Upon further questioning from Chichikov, laments the craftsman's heavy drinking, which rendered him soaked in alcohol and caused him to all of a sudden burst from him a blue flame.
Oh, that's so overdramatic.
Yeah, but again, like, this is in writing, like, where did that come from?
Yeah, but someone didn't burst into blue flame.
You don't know.
No, okay, but I understand your idea about every single piece of fiction comes from a bit of reality. But what about some of the fantasy stuff that we read?
Yeah, that still comes from someone's interpretation or exaggeration of a tiny piece of reality. Okay. In the novel Bleak House, 1853 by Charles Dickens, the character Crook Mrs. Smallweed's only brother, a disreputable rag and bottle merchant who lives largely on gin, is the apparent victim of spontaneous human combustion.
I think I know that one.
In the 1984 mockumentary, This is Spinal Tap, I do love a good mockumentary, about the fictional heavy metal band Spinal Tap, two of the band's former drummers are said to have died in separate on-stage spontaneous human combustion incidents.
That's kind of funny though.
Yeah. In the 1990 horror film Spontaneous Combustion, how did I miss that one? Directed by Toby Hooper, attempts to connect spontaneous combustion with atomic weapons experimentation.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
In the 1997 film Con Air, have you seen Con Air?
No, I've never seen it.
That's not bad. Prisoner Pinball, played by Dave Chappelle, sets another prisoner on fire as part of his plan to take control of the prisoner transport airplane he is on. After he does this, he tells the guards that the prisoner is on fire and that he must have spontaneously combusted.
Yeah, he's on fire. I didn't do it though.
In the episode Spontaneous Combustion from April 1999 of the American cartoon show South Park, I used to love South Park. Several characters die from spontaneous human combustion. I do remember that. It is later discovered that it is the result of people holding in their farts. Yes, and this is why I tell people that farts, you need to fart, otherwise you'll die of spontaneous human
come
combustion.
on, that's not real. It's fucking South Park.
Oh, come on. Again, where did they get this idea from?
Okay, you're only gonna... Because methane gas is flammable and farts made from methane gas. Doesn't mean it's actually gonna happen.
In the DVD commentary for the episode, Trey Parker, one of the creators of South Park, reveals that flatulence causing spontaneous combustion in the episode stemmed from his own serious belief that holding in farts can indeed cause humans to spontaneously combust. I also believe that. Parker said, I honestly think that it could be what spontaneous combustion is because I've seen some dudes light their farts and the fireballs were big. And that was just one fart. I'm serious. I think it's totally possible.
He sounds like a pothead.
So, it's valid people.
They're valid people. It doesn't mean that they're smart.
It's smart. He made a really cool freaking TV
That doesn't
show.
mean he's smart.
Well, are you saying I'm not smart?
Oh, no, okay. No.
You will combust if you don't let out your farts.
That's not true.
What happens if you don't let out your farts then?
You'll be incredibly uncomfortable and possibly hurt yourself,
And,
but you won't
when you
explode.
catch on fire.
You're not going to explode.
Well, I'm not saying you explode,
Whatever.
but you will combust.
You're ridiculous. This is a ridiculous article.
Whatever, your science ones are ridiculous.
This isn't even science. It's not even. It's fucking bullshit.
Bullshit. Fuck you. Episode 17, and you have to believe this one, episode 17 of season 1 of the television show CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, has a subplot concerning a woman who burns while sitting in her chair in her living room. Character Sarah Seidel wants to call it SHC, but character Warwick Brown is determined to prove there is no such thing. I like Sarah Seidel's character. I side with her.
Go on.
On the second episode in season 2 of the sitcom Trial and Error, the character Anne Flatch, played by Sherry Shepherd, mentions that she suffers from the condition when her colleague Dwayne Reed, played by Stephen Boyer, notices smoke coming from her right arm. There you go.
Anyway, this article is entirely ridiculous.
It's not entirely ridiculous. Like, some of it surely... I mean, I'm not saying all of these cases were SHC, but why couldn't at least, like, one of them?
I can understand the whole, like... I can understand the theories. How they're like, having a cigarette burn your skin and then that coming out as
The wick
fact,
effect.
and the wick effect. That makes sense.
What about the ball lightning?
Ball lightning's fucking bullshit.
Is it?
Yes, ball lightning is a thing, but it's not going to cause you to spontaneously combust.
Okay. Well, what about farts? Holding your farts
Oh,
in?
that's even worse. On the ranking of wick effect to ball lightning to farts, wick effect is number 1, and farts is like fuck all down the end somewhere.
Well, I'm going to continue farting so I don't become a human fucking wick with my fat.
As long as I can fart too, that's okay.
Of course you can fart, because I don't want you to combust.
Well, that's nice.
Yes. See how lovely I am? I don't want my love to combust.
Okay, that's
Alright.
nice.
Okay, so we're allowed to fart.
Okay.
Cool.
That's the consensus. That's the conclusion to this article. We're both allowed to fart.
Of course we are. Because I've always held the firm belief since South Park, or probably even before that, when I first read in this weird little book in my school library, that
You are allowed to fart.
yes, you do not want to keep your gases inside you. They belong outside you, where they can dissipate into the air and not light on fire. Frank looks appalled. But
I'm not appalled. I'm just like
It's
cynical
ridiculous.
and ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I'm not ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
No, we should thank our patrons.
Yes. Thanks, Mum.
Bitten by the bug.
Mum.
And
Francis.
I believe we have a new one, but I need to find
Who it is.
Yeah, I haven't worked out who it is yet.
Did you say it was like a random collection
There's like a bunch of numbers
and letters?
and, yeah, which just kind of confuses me, but
thank you, whoever that is.
yeah, we'll work it out, and we'll work it out for the next episode.
Yeah.
But thank you. We now have 3 patrons.
Yay, thank you.
Awesome.
Do we actually pay for all?
That's probably our Podbean account payable.
Yay, now we profit.
Well, never.
Never.
We'll never make enough to pay back for the equipment and stuff.
Yeah, but it's fun. So
It is fun. We love it. It's good.
Alrighty.
So this has been another episode of Dark and Creepy Things with
Frank
and
Scout.
Yay.
Yay. See you next time.